The old backyard. An amazing place of mine that I pretty much spent every single day in while I was in my old house. You know, the one we were in previously before the one we're in now. Whenever I was bored, I'd come out here and just do whatever I want. Do some projects off camera while not recording. I actually did do one back in February off camera because I was bored. And I just spent pretty much like 3 hours out here because it was just too much fun. So in this video, I bring you guys the story of how I discovered the old backyard. Now, this story goes way back to 3 years ago in 2015. So basically, if you are unaware, we moved into our old house, you know, the one we were in previously, on January 4th, 2015. Sorry about the mess up. I was just thinking of a different day. Yeah, January 4th, 2015, we moved into our old house. Now, a little fun fact, I actually didn't discover the old backyard till a year later. On January 24th, 2016. Now you're probably asking, why did I not go out to the backyard for exactly 1 whole year yet? Well, here is why, and how I discovered the backyard. That's obviously what this video is about. So basically, the reason why I didn't discover the backyard until a year later in 2016 was because I was just too used to the house. I was just too used to just being in the house and just having a lot of fun in there instead of going out to the backyard. So basically, yeah, I was just too used to being in the house, and I just didn't really want to go out to the backyard yet because, again, I was just too used to the house and being in there. However, a year later, on the 24th of January 2016, I finally went out to the backyard for the first time. And this was my reaction. When I walked out for the first time, I was like, whoa, this backyard is huge. Because it was huge. It was very huge. And I was 13 at the time. Actually, I was still 12 because I turned 13 later in the year. No, that's 2015. No, I was 13 years old at the time when I discovered this backyard. However, being 14 later in the year. I don't know why I said 12. I was probably thinking of 2015. But really, I was 13 when I discovered that backyard. And, yeah. I was like, oh my god, this is so big. I must explore. So then I explored it for an hour, and yeah. It was just so much fun seeing how much there is for it. I explored everything. The first place I think I can remember is, the first place I can honestly remember taking a look at for the first time was honestly the pump house. Now, you're probably asking, why was the pump house the first place I visited when I walked out to that backyard for the first time? Well, the honest thing is, I do not even remember why. But I do remember that was my first ever place I went to. Because I was like, oh cool, what's this? And I walked over and it had a bunch of filters in it. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And later on, I actually used it for a good purpose. And later on became the place where I made my projects. The next place I honestly remember visiting next was the leaf pile. Because honestly, I had nothing better to do with my life but then go on top of the leaf pile. I like literally jump on top of the leaf pile and like, wow, I'm literally the king of the leaf pile. Wow. Next place I remember visiting next was honestly the shed. I was like, whoa, what could be in there? Because I didn't know what was actually in there at the time. And literally, the shed was literally the next place I discovered. And I was like, what could be in there? It's gotta be something good. See, look, like literally back there. The next place I honestly remember discovering was honestly the field. Now, obviously it was empty at the time because honestly I had nothing there yet because I literally just discovered it. And then later on in time, after I discovered every place, I was like, wow, this place is just amazing. I should definitely do something. And then everything began. I made a hole right in the spot where the hole was at first. And yeah. And about like 2 weeks later, I started making projects in the pump house, which is this. Oh wait, that's later. Because I discovered the backyard on the 24th of January 2016, I was like, you know what, I do have a phone. Why don't I make a series out of this? And then I called it Wildlife. And it was filmed on the exact day that I discovered it. And then I showed my hole because I dug it before I filmed. I showed everything. But then, many months later, I showed it again. I started making projects at the pump house on February 5th. And then, went on to many other things. I showcased the front yard on February 23rd. And then, another thing I discovered there was, honestly, everything I did. But then later on, I showcased the backyard again, but on YouTube, as the first ever episode of Backyard Videos. And, people love that. And one other thing I actually know was that later on November 7, 2017... No, 2016. I'm so done with the date. I discovered the top of the pump house, which I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna become my permanent room. And then it did. But, unfortunately, not forever. Later on in the time, I kept making more and more and more projects, turned the top of the pump house into my own personal workshop, and everyone that watched it loved it. Over time, I kept changing the top of the pump house because honestly, I did not have any other plans to do with it, and I just thought it would be really cool to change it up once in a while. Then in October, I made a new hole because my old one died in March of that year, and then I found logs in December. Well, actually in October, because I had to make a new hole construction in October, which resulted in a new hole. But on October 22nd, it became buried. And then I had to make a new one on October 23rd. Over time, throughout the rest of the years, I kept doing the same thing over and over again. However, made better projects in the pump house, made better holes throughout time, made the pump house even look even better, and I even found out what was inside the shed. Then on January 7th, 2017, I finally found out what was both behind the shed, and this was my reaction. Whoa, there was something back here that I was missing out on all this time? Yeah, that's what I said. I discovered it before I made the video on January 7. And then I think, yeah, I kept doing things later on. Then in May of 2017, I started making I made a project table, then we did the project table, well, we did all the projects on there, and then I stopped doing projects at the bottom of the pump house because I had a new way. Actually, I actually did it towards the end, during the final days, but then that was it. Later on, I actually discovered a few more places, such as the unknown area, on the exact day that I discovered the backyard itself. I was like, whoa, what could this area be called? And unfortunately, it actually was always called the unknown area. I never thought of a name. Later on the same day, I discovered the second unknown area on January 7. And I discovered what was behind the backyard all this time. I was like, whoa, this is even bigger than what I really thought it was? What the heck? That's what I was like on January 7th, right before I made the video. The backyard video, of course, episode 26. And then later on, I made more projects. Then I started making events in April. And then that leads to pretty much all the way up to now. All of those were so much fun. And I still do to this day. However, it did not last forever. It finally ended on May 24th,